Hello everybody, it's Beth Boyle, Iowa Trail Rider, and I'm out for a ride on my 10-year-old gelding Robin. And his half-brother arrived about 1 o'clock this morning from Texas. And he's got an interesting story, and I'd like to tell you about it. So stay tuned, I'm going to switch the camera around so you can kind of watch us ride down the dirt road here near my home. And I'll tell you Doc's story. It's kind of a tearjerker. So hi everybody, it's May 15th, and 7 years ago today, a pretty little paint colt was born from a mare whose barn name was Haiti, and he was colored up just like her. She's a Sabino paint, and for her, she had pretty much a solid body color, high flashy white socks on all 4 feet, and kind of a sandy kind of mane and tail. A big blocky mare, wide between her front legs, deep chest, big old round butt on her, and she had this pretty little baby look just like her, just full of muscles. And her pasture mate, bay mare, had a baby out of the same stud within just a couple of weeks, and I bought those 2 foals. The one named Sanita Lena Doc was Haiti's baby, and then the other baby was named Doc Freckles Trio. So they had same dad, and same dad as Robin that I'm riding now, and brought them home, and with hopes that one of the 2 of them would be my next horse that I would keep forever. I kept them from the time they were weanlings until they were yearlings, and just couldn't bond with either one of them. Beautiful colts, great disposition, easy to be around, but just not mine. For whatever reason, I just didn't know. So I put them up for sale, and the little bay colt with the white socks and spot went to Minnesota, and Doc, the sorrow Sabino, went to Texas. And he didn't just go to Texas. So my childhood art teacher's name was Julie, and she was a horse lover, and she was retired. She had been a teacher here in Iowa, and she had retired and moved to Texas. And her heart horse, Jubilee, was getting older. She couldn't ride him much, and she was just sure that she'd never have another horse that meant as much to her as Jubilee. And so she was kind of buying, she had a young horse at her barn already, and saw Doc's videos on Facebook when he was for sale, and just knew there was something special about Doc. So Julie bought Doc from me as a yearling, and she sent a transport from Texas to pick him up. So there in the pitch dark of night, my yearling Doc walked up a very steep ramp into a semi-truck trailer that was separated into box stalls and went to Texas. He arrived, and Julie loved him, just loved him. They were just great friends, and as it turns out, not too long later, a year or maybe 2, Julie had a couple of rescue horses at her house. And the rescue horses were kind of food greedy and kind of struggling at feeding time. So she had set up kind of 3-sided pipe gate stalls. So each horse at her place had its own spot to feed, to get some grain, right? So 2 of these rescue horses were in the same little pen, and Julie walked in to feed them and chew the one out of there, and one of them kicked her. Both hind legs hard, right up underneath her ribs. And Julie, when she bought Doc, was in her late 60s. And so by then, you know, she's creeping right up on 70, and that horse broke her ribs on one side and her arm on the other, threw her down in the dirt. And Doc, who was special to Julie, come over and cut those other horses away from her, wouldn't let them back near her, and stood over her as she kind of crab walked and drug herself out of the pasture. And then he stood there at the fence and watched her, kept an eye on her until she got in the house. So that really made the bond between Julie and Doc even more special. So yeah, he was he was going to be able to be Julie's next heart horse, and she was thankful to have him, and I was so thankful that she had him, because I knew she just took excellent care of her horses, and being retired, she'd have plenty of time for him, and it just seemed like it was just meant to be, that the reason that colt that I was so excited about wasn't for me, was that he was for Julie. So Doc's growing up in Texas, and as a 3-year-old, she sends him off to a reining trainer and has 60 days put on him, and he does fine. A little bit lazy maybe, but that's okay, especially for some of us that are, not the young riders that we used to be. And she's getting along with great. She has a few rides on Doc. She's super happy with him. His 4-year-old year, she sends him back to the trainer for 30 days, gets a few more rides on him, but as her age advances, she's still taking great care of Doc and the other horses that she has, but she's not riding much. So by the time Julie's getting into her early to middle 70s, my friend Julie suddenly passed away. Just suddenly she was gone. Had a heart attack, went from her normal everyday activities to gone just that quick. And bless her, Julie had put in with her papers that if she couldn't have Doc anymore, she wanted me to get first chance at having him back. And it's kind of emotional for me, because I lost my friend, but her horse that was mine, that was so special to her, I got the opportunity to get him back, so of course I did. So they're in Texas and I'm in Iowa. It's going to be a pretty big deal to get him home, and 12-hour drive for me, going to cost me several $100s in fuel and lodgings to get down there, and it's going to be a pretty big trip, and they wanted him to be at my house before the end of May, and I had a trail ride trip planned, and the timing was just not great. So my friend Rhonda's son was in college in Texas, and he's on the rodeo team, and he was going to be coming home from college in May. So talked to Julie and got him hooked up so that her son Tyler could bring Doc home for me. And they had some questions for me about Doc, and I didn't know a lot about him. And Julie's family aren't really horse people. Didn't know a ton about him either, other than that he was 7 and he was green broke, and he was a good boy. But he hadn't been ridden a whole lot. So Tyler went to pick him up for me, and on a Thursday, and Doc got right in the trailer, and off he went with Tyler back to college for a couple of days before Tyler headed home. So my Doc, that really hadn't been out and about much as an adult, got in the trailer and off he went to college. And spent a couple of days in the run next to Tyler's gelding. And then when it was time for Tyler to come home, he's coming all the way home from Texas, and Doc wouldn't get in the trailer. So it's a little bit of a small trailer, not tiny, but with another horse in there. Doc's a big horse. Just guessing Doc is probably 16.2, and he's pretty heavy. I bet he weighs every bit of 1,400 pounds. Didn't want to get in, and poor Tyler had an hour worth of coaxing him and working with him, trying to get him in that trailer, but he finally gets him in the trailer. And off they head towards Kansas City, where Tyler's meeting his mom, Rhonda. So they get to Kansas City with no troubles and get horses unloaded at a place where they can stay overnight, and Tyler and his mom are going to spend some time together before Tyler heads off to Montana. He's got a job for the summer, college job in Montana for the summer. So the next morning, they go to load Doc again, and he won't get in the trailer. It's not too surprising. He really hadn't been trailered much, hadn't been away from home much, and he just had an 8-hour ride the day before. Hadn't had a great trailer loading experience, and he wouldn't get back in. And they worked with him, and I offered to come and get him. He was just not wanting to get in, and finally they got him in, and Rhonda headed back to Iowa from Kansas City, Missouri. So she gets about an hour north out of Kansas City on Highway 35 and has a fellow driver signal her on the road. She's got a wheel smoking on the trailer. So she limps in to a truck stop and then to a repair place, and she's going to need a big repair. She's lost a bearing, ruined a spindle, the hub, and might need an axle. So it's early afternoon, and Julie calls and she says, I'm broke down. I'm not sure what we're going to do, but I might need you to come to Kansas City and pick these horses up. Tyler had his horse and Doc both. And she says, I'll let you know for sure if I need you to come. But it's likely that you'll need to come. So by about 3:30 on Mother's Day afternoon, she called and she says, yep, please come and get these horses. I'm going to be here at least overnight till we can get the parts and get this trailer fixed. So I get my 2-horse trailer all ready to go, air up the tires, get hooked up, get my clothes changed, throw some snacks in, and head for Kansas City, or near there. Cameron, be about 3.5 hours for me to get down there. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see Doc. I haven't seen him since he was a yearling, and he's 7 now. And I'd already paid for him. He's mine, and wasn't sure just what I'd have, or since they'd had to unload him since they had broke down, what we were going to get into trying to load him yet another time in the same day. So off I go to Kansas City just as fast as I can, and arrive down there. Don't have any trouble finding Rhonda. And poor Rhonda, it's Mother's Day. She was hoping to be home by early afternoon. By the time I got there, it was about 8 o'clock. And but Doc was there. And when I got out of the truck and called to him, his ears came forward, and his eyes were just riveted on me for a good 3 or 4 seconds. I from the look on his face, my guess is maybe he recognized my voice. I bought him, I don't know if he was 3 months old or 4 months old. He'd just been weaned. And I'd like to think I played a part in his early childhood development, I guess, if you will. And it sure seemed like he recognized me. So I got out of the truck and been in there for 3.5 hours. Hadn't stopped for fuel or to go to the bathroom or anything. I just motored on down there. Try and get down there before it got dark. So just in case we were going to have trouble loading Doc again, we'd have some daylight time to work with him and coax him and see what we could do. So I got out of the truck and stretched a little bit and chatted with Rhonda and apologized to her over and over again for the troubles they'd had with Doc. They were doing me a favor, bringing him home, and Tyler was earning a little bit of money for college for doing it, and I was just so glad that they were able to help me out, and was happy to help when they needed it. So we got down there, and Julie went and got Rowdy, Tyler's horse, and loaded him in I have a 2-horse 4-star slant. It's a gooseneck with a ramp. And Rowdy went right in. We put him in the front slant, and I had I'm going to call him Gus. That's my dog. Had Doc right there with him. He saw Rowdy go in quiet, and Doc walked up on the ramp, stuck his head in the trailer, and just stood there. And I just stood there with him, kind of talked to him, let him look at that trailer. It's extra wide and extra tall, and his buddy was in there, and the back stall has some extra room in it. It's got collapsible tack, and the center bar will come out so you can open both doors. If we needed to get him in, in a large area, we could. But thought, well, before we tear that all apart, let's just put him in here, just the way that it is. Just because he'd been in that trailer as a yearling, and my big trailer, that didn't have a ramp, he'd been ponied on trails, and he'd been horse camping overnight, and so there stands Doc, and I'm thinking, well, I kind of clucked to him and talked to him some more, and he just stood there, not negative or anything, but head in the trailer, two front feet way up on the ramp. And so I walked in the trailer into that back slant to hand Doc's lead rope out the window to Rhonda so she could kind of coax him forward, and I was going to get around behind him and start some kind of gentle coaxing so that hopefully, we could get him in. And I'll be gosh darned, I stepped into that slant and Doc walked right in there with me, which was wonderful. He and I had a hay bag ready for him, and he started munching. Didn't show any signs of stress. His ears kind of stayed loose and floppy, and Rhonda shut the back door, not all the way, of course, and then got the butt bar across there, so he wasn't going to be able to back out. So there I am in the second slant, my 2-horse trailer with a horse that weighs 1,400 pounds. And he was real quiet, real nice, but I don't know this horse, right? I hadn't laid eyes on him in 6 years. He was quiet and nice as a yearling, but so I'm standing in there, and he's very, very overweight, and I'm looking at him wondering how I'm going to get out of this slant. And I kind of looked at the window. It's like, well, this window on my drop-down window on my trailer won't open, so I'm not crawling out the window. It's like, well, I've got to get around him and get out that back door. So I just stood there quiet with him for a few minutes, make sure, that he knew the other horse was in there, and he ate a couple bites of hay, and I said, okay, Rhonda, here I come. I'm coming out. I went underneath his neck and between him and the slant, and then I had to go between his butt and the back wall, and the space there was maybe 10 inches, and both of those powerful hind legs are right there, right? I thought, well, I guess I'm going to find out just how quiet he is. So I just kind of took a deep breath and squeezed between both his back legs, that butt bar and the back wall, and out I came. He never swished his tail, never moved a foot or anything, and he was in the trailer. So we had to use the load twice. Had kind of a bad time between those 2 loading episodes. He had 2.5 hours into getting him to load twice, and he walked right in. So I'm thinking maybe he's a ramp baby. Tyler's trailer didn't have a ramp on it. That I know my trailer I have had long enough that that's the one that Doc learned to load in, and Julie might have had a ramp too. And it might have just been the fact that there was no ramp for Doc to use to get into that trailer, or I don't know, maybe Doc recognized me from way back or recognized the trailer, but he walked right in. And it was still light, and it had been spitting rain, but it wasn't raining, and we had no fight. And my friend Rhonda had been all day messing around trying to get these horses home, and then had a problem and had to wait for me for 3.5 hours while I got there. And I just gave her a big hug. I just woohooed it, because that horse had just walked right in, and I was just so tickled, but knew they hadn't had anything to eat and hadn't been to the bathroom, and I was getting low on fuel. So I said to Rhonda goodbye and good luck, getting your repair done tomorrow, and went to the truck stop that was real close there, got some fuel, but couldn't get into the main building, so just got fuel and got back on the road. And God bless my friends and my family that'll chat with me when I'm driving, because by the time I left, it was about 8:30, getting pretty dark, and I had a 3.5 hour trip home. So I knew it was going to be late when I got home. My other friend Julie chatted with me for over an hour. My niece Jamie chatted with me for almost an hour, and I'm gonna have a video on that one. They were going to be trapping coons at their house. And those chats just mean so much to me when I'm out there, and I'm driving and by myself. It just makes time fly. So got home, and those guys we got most of the way home, and both those geldings are just quiet in the trailer and everything, and I've got to go to the bathroom, right? By then it'd been 6 hours or so before since I'd been to the bathroom, and I hadn't had anything to eat other than a few snacks I had, and stopped about an hour from home, checked on them. Both those horses just standing there in the trailer, just quiet. Went in, got some snacks, went to the bathroom, and got home about 12:30. Again, spit and rain, but never hard, never any thunderstorms or anything. Something else that I'm thankful for. Got home, let my little dog Gus out of the truck, And the worst thing that happened in the whole trip home for me with Doc was that my my spare tire cover had come loose and I'd drug it all the way over Kansas City. My little dog Gus hops out of the cab of my pickup and just starts barking. What in the world? I look around and I can't see anything. I can't see anything to bark about, and he's been in the truck with me, all that time. I thought he'd just get out, and we're in our own yard, right? I thought he'd go to bed. Well, that's what it was. I'd been dragging that spare tire cover for who knows how long, and it was hanging down underneath my trailer. And that Gus, he's a smart one. He knew that shouldn't be underneath there. He didn't know what it was, but he knew it shouldn't be there, and he was going to have a piece of it. Oh boy. So yeah, that was the biggest problem we had. Got the trailer open and Doc backed right out. Rowdy came right out. I had spots ready for them at my barn. Both of them had an outdoor pen. And my other horses were wondering, who it was and calling to them and running back and forth. But I'd put up electric wire to keep them away from the pens that Rowdy and Doc would be in, because they had been in Texas, and Doc had a lot of stress. Chances of him bringing a bug home after a couple of nights at the college and a night in Kansas City, pretty good chance he'll have some kind of bug that he picked up. He hasn't traveled much, so keeping my horses back away from him, and we were home. And I got my first really good look at him as he's kind of wandering around in my pen, checking out my water and stuff that he is not sharing with other horses. Till I know for sure. He's kind of in a little bit of a quarantine there, because we're leaving for Shawnee to trail ride on Friday, and I certainly don't need sick horses at my house. But he's a beauty. He's a beauty. I'll add some pictures here. I knew he would be. He was a gorgeous, very mature yearling. And he's grown up to be really, really something. So he is the paint color, same as his mom. Same paint color that this horse is, Robin. Robin's also a roan. Yes, he's got the high, flashy white socks. He's got the big wonky paint blaze on his face. Kind of that sandy colored mane and tail, and a real light sorrel color. His dad, or their dad, is a Palomino. And Doc's certainly not a Palomino, but he's a pretty light colored sorrel for having just shed off. So who knows, maybe by fall in the sun here in Iowa, he'll lighten up and it'll almost look like Palomino. But he's friendly. He's interested. He didn't get shaken up. He's just been wanting to make friends with my other horses, hanging his head over the gate and, trying to introduce himself. He is a full brother to Casper. So these colts that I bought, and Robin, who was born at my house, they're out of a stud called Doc Freckles that has passed away. Doc Freckles is a grandson of Colonel Freckles. So they've got Colonel Freckles on their papers, and of course Colonel Freckles was a big money winner and sire of many good performance horses. A lot of cutting money there on top. So all three of my Doc Freckles boys have Colonel Freckles on their papers. And then Casper and Doc, since they're full brothers, they both have Sunita Lena on their papers on the bottom side. So Sunita Lena in the 90s was world champion cutting horse, won a bunch of money, sired a bunch of performance horses. So these are horses with good minds, lots of bone to them, nice big feet. Robin's a little more the size that I prefer. Robin's just right about 15 hands, maybe 15-1. Not a great big thick horse. But his brothers here, Casper and Doc, are both big, thick horses, and Doc is really, really fat right now. Cresty neck. He's even kind of got a fat roll between his shoulder and his ribs. And boy, if there's ribs in there, you certainly can't feel him. He's really, really heavy. But you can tell that he's a good-looking horse underneath all that. He's got a little prettier head than Casper does, and I'm so excited to have him home. I've been fussing and worrying about getting him home and what he was going to be like and if I would like him. And granted, he just got home last night, but he's been easy to be around. Had 3 men out at my barn today, and he came up to the fence and wanted to meet them and get petted over the fence and everything. So seems like he's a people horse, and I'm just so excited to have another one to kind of play with. And the fact that he's green bulk, I'm okay with that. You know, sometimes you get a 7-year-old with problems. You know, somebody's mistreated them or they've had some bad experiences. And my friend Julie was an excellent horseman, and she had picked out a great trainer for them. And I know he's had all the best care. And Julie, up in heaven, thank you. Thank you for routing Doc back my way. I think I'm really going to like him, and I'll get a lot of good out of him. I promise to take the best care of him that I can. So there you go. Now I'm crying again, but Julie was my friend, and I guess dying suddenly is the best that I can hope for my older friends, is that when it's their time, they'll get blessed like Julie did without, a long illness and, a lot of problems and everything. But sure doesn't make it any easier to lose them. But anyway, I'd also like to shout out to Julie's daughters and JD in particular, who spent a lot of time with me on the phone, took a lot of pictures, very patient with me making arrangements to get Doc home, and making me just feel like it was meant to be. They sent the custom-made saddle that Julie had made for Doc with them, along with a pulling collar and a headstall. So I have all of his gear, which is just fabulous. And just thank you. I just have good feelings about this. And the oddest thing is, just a couple of things about this that when he got to me, he loaded in the trailer quiet. He was ready to come home with me, I think. And when we arrived at my house at 12:30 this morning, middle of the night, in the dark, today is Doc's birthday. So for his birthday, he's home. He's back in Iowa with me, and somewhere I think that Julie's probably very, very happy that Doc's home with me, and that I'll take good care of him. I'll put a lot of miles on him, and that he'll be really special to me, because I know how special he was to Julie. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed Doc's story. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. I'll post pictures of Doc as I try and get some weight off of him and get him into shape, and slowly, start putting some rides on him and see where he's at. You never know what green broke means, but I saw a video of him with the trainer riding in an arena. I know that he walked and trotted and cantered both directions, would pick up his leads, had a little bit of a stop on him, nothing big and showy or anything, as a 3 and 4-year-old. So I have high hopes for him. And but yeah, please do subscribe to the channel. Give my videos a thumbs up, and I really appreciate it when you watch all the way to the end. It helps with the YouTube algorithm so that they'll suggest my videos to more people. So have a really good day, everybody, and wish me best of luck with my new horse, Sonita Lita Doc.